Hi, I'm Danny and these are my Diecast Disasters. In this video I'm going to be restoring and customizing two wee Matchboxes. The first of them is a Mercedes 280 GE and the second is the pony trailer. Here's the Mercedes. Matchbox produced this model from 1984 all the way through till 2009, and I think this was the first version, so that was made until 1987, the fire rescue unit sort of thing going on. The wiki notes on this particular variation mention that it came with or without the Mercedes logo on the front. My one doesn't have it, unfortunately. And the good old pony trailer. I bet a few of you had one of these, or still have some in varying states of disrepair. A lot of them are missing the back door there, and I'd say an even larger number of them are missing the horses. Matchbox started making these way back in 1968, and I think they're still making them now. This one, however, is the original version from 1968-69, like the old style wheels on it there. So let's take them off the turntable and have a closer look. First we'll check out the Mercedes. It's in a well used state there. It's missing a lot of paint. These scuffed windscreens, worn out old wheels. There's nothing terribly broken on it though, so that's really good for restoring. Still got its lights sticking out the top there. I'm not going to be keeping those though. And the horse float, so it's seen even more action. Missing great chunks of paint there, missing the tailgate. These wheels are a little bit worn out. It's still doing pretty well to be holding up at all after 50 years. Let's crack on and take them apart. There's one rivet on each of these models. I'm using a 4mm drill to drill it out. And then I can take off the bottom of the truck. There it goes. And I can pull it all apart. The plastic roof section is held in with 3 little plastic rivets there. I'll just very carefully drill those out. And then I can take that off as well. And again, one rivet on the trailer. It's a pretty shallow post on this model. Then it's off with the base. The windscreen's held in with a couple more shallow rivets, or posts, or whatever you want to call them. I'm sure somebody will be commenting, they're not called rivets. And then I can pop the windscreen out there. There's a bit of a crack in the top of it, but I don't think it's going to matter too much. So I'm nearly ready for paint stripping. One more thing to do. I have to take these wheels off of the base of the trailer there. So I just use my Dremel to grind down the smaller of the mushroomed over ends. And the wheels just pop off. Let's do the other one here. And there we go, there's those wheels and axles removed. Now I take these 3 castings and apply some paint stripper to them. There's the paint all wrinkling up and coming off. I wash that off in some water. And I'm left with this, my 3 castings with most of the paint gone off of them. So a few scraps of paint here and there on them, and plenty of the oxidation there. So the next thing I'll do is to give them a clean up with a wire brush on my Dremel. And here we go, our castings all cleaned up, looking nice and shiny. So next thing, I'll just drill and tap these rivet posts. So I can use a screw to hold the models back together later on. I'm going to use a 256 screw, so I'm using a 1.7mm drill and a 256 tap. It's a pretty shallow post on the trailer here, so I'm careful not to drill all the way through. I want a rescue vehicle to tow my horse float round, so I'm going to decommission this one. The first thing I'm going to have to do is remove these lights from the roof, and I don't want these big gaping holes here either, so I'm going to tidy them up. I start by cutting off the raised edges there with my craft knife. Next I mix up some epoxy putty. And I can use that to fill up the little holes. I let it cure for a while. Then I start carving away at it with my craft knife here. Cut out those ridges and remove the bulk of the excess that I'm not going to want. And then I can start filing away at it to smooth it down. And after the filing comes the sanding. And once I feel like I'm starting to get somewhere, I hit it with some grey primer. This will just give me a better idea of where I'm up to. So back to sanding. Here we go, sanded it down a bit, and some more grey primer. Oh, we're nearly there. Stay a little bit more sanding here and there. And finally some white primer. It's looking pretty good. I don't think you'll see those repairs once I've painted it with the top coat of paint. So now I'm going to stick it back onto the body of my Mercedes. Nice, no more emergency lights. Now I can give the whole thing a nice coat of white primer. And I'm going to be painting my Mercedes a nice olive green. There we go. Perfect for life on the farm. I'll start painting in some details. The guards there, and the grille and the lights. I don't think I'm going to be able to paint those stripes on the side there without it looking pretty rough, so I'm going to be using decals for those. Some black stripe decals that I've printed. I've just cut some out to length, and then I apply them to the stripes on the side of the car. I also cut out some smaller, thinner pieces and applied these to where the door handles are. It is a bit fiddly, so just be patient. And there we go, we're coming along. Most of our detailing's done now. There's a nice big space for a license plate in the back there, so I better print one out. There it is, 280 GE. Just printed that on some normal A4 paper. I'll cut one out here, and I'll use a small amount of watered down PVA to glue it in place. It's quite a nice touch, adding a little custom license plate to your diecast, and as you can see, it's pretty easy and cheap to do. Now I'm not going to be wanting those horrible blue windscreens, so here I've put some masking tape onto some clear styrene, and I've cut myself out some little windscreen replacements. I used the original windscreen to mark out the shapes. Moving on to the base now. First thing I'll do is to pop out these old wheels. Now I can take it and give it a wash in some hot soapy water along with a couple of the other plastic parts. Now you can see the bull bar is quite ridiculously bent there. So to fix this up, I submersed it in some boiled water for a minute or so, and then I quenched it under some cold water from the tap while I held the bull bar straight. And here it is after a coat of black paint. The interior, I've hit it with some white primer there, and here it is after a little bit of detailing. And finally, these old worn out wheels, there they go, the rusty axles. I'm going to replace them with these new Matchbox wheels. They're pretty much the same thing, but a much more new version of it. Next, I'm going to make a new rear door for the trailer here. I start with a piece of styrene that I've cut out to size. And I'm going to use a tool here and a ruler to scratch some lines into it. This is sort of look like little planks of wood. There we go, and I'll just keep going until I've done the whole panel. Next, I've cut out some little strips to go around the outside. So I'll just glue those in place. There we go. There's the main part of the door done. Now I'm going to need a little axle on the bottom of it so that it can hinge open. Just cut a length of steel rod and glued it on there. And that fits into those little notches there on the trailer. And then it's all held on by the base there, which is all just held on by that one rivet at the front. As you can see, the door opens quite nicely. Now I can paint the door. I start out with some black primer. I then painted it with silver. I would have used aluminium if I'd had it, but I didn't have any at the moment. And then I detailed the wooden planks. Sorry I don't have better footage of that. And with that out of the way, I can move on and start painting the trailer. Start with some white primer. Then I mask off the strip around here where the windows are. And then I've decided to paint my trailer blue. I see a lot of blue horse trailers around where I live. Now I'm going to take off the masking and hope that it's nice and tidy. There we go, it's looking pretty good. There are a couple of tiny smudges, but I managed to remove those with some 2000 grit sandpaper and some gentle sanding. Here's the windscreen for the trailer. As I mentioned before, it's got that little crack in the top, but it's not too bad. It is a bit scuffed as well, so I'm giving it a sand here with some 2000 grit sandpaper. There it is, most of the main scuffs are out. And now I'm going to use some plastic polish and give it a good polish. And there's our finished windscreen. Here's the base of the trailer. I'm going to give this a similar treatment as the rear door, some black primer, and then I painted it silver and painted the wood base there. The wheels for the trailer, I'm going to keep the original wheels. They both had a bad side and a good side, so I turned the bad sides inwards. And I've also got these little half round hubcaps I'm going to be using. Just pop on there like that. So that's our trailer all sorted out. And I've got one more little treat. I've got a couple of horses to go in it here. These are the original Matchbox horses. You can see this one has quite a few casting lines and stuff on it. So I'm going to give those a good clean up. And here's the other horse. This one I've already cleaned the casting lines off it. You can see it's looking a lot smoother. And then once I'd given them a nice clean up, I gave them some little paint jobs. There they go, looking a bit more like real horses now. Phew, that was quite a bit of work. But here we are, here are all the parts of our Mercedes 280 GE and our original Matchbox pony trailer, all refurbished, repainted and ready to go back together. I started by putting the trailer together. I used Marty's method on my drill press to put the wheels back on, and then a tiny amount of my Starbond super glue to glue on those new hubcaps there. Now I'm just going to put the windscreen into the trailer here. Come on, in you go. Get it in there without scratching that paint. And as you remember, this had some rivets, so I'm just going to use a tiny amount of glue in those rivet holes there just to stop it falling out again. Now I can put the rear door in. There it goes. And I'll put the base on. That'll hold the whole thing together. And here's a little wee screw that I've ground most of it off, so it's only a few millimeters long. And I'm going to screw that into my shallow post that I tapped earlier. Now for the Mercedes, start out with the base here, just popping these new wheels in under the suspension. It's nice and easy to put these in with this metal suspension. Usually a real pain in the proverbial. There we go. Here's a roller. So here's the body of the Mercedes. Already put the windscreens in there using some tiny amounts of glue and a fair bit of patience. And now I just need to pop the interior in there. Pop the base on. There she goes. No, there she goes. And again, a little button head 256 screw into that post there to hold it all together. And there's our vehicles reassembled. So just before we take a look at the finished product, let's just take a moment to look back and be reminded of what we started with. We'll begin with our Mercedes here. It's definitely seen better days. It's missing a good third of its paint chipped away there. Scruffy old scuffed windscreen and tyres. And maybe it's seen enough rescue missions. Let's decommission it and give it a tidy up. And here is the finished product. Our restored and customized Matchbox Mercedes-Benz 280G. Repainted in a nice olivey green. It's been detailed there. It's had those lights removed from the top. It's got some nice new wheels on it. And gone are those horrible blue windscreens. It's replaced with some nicer clear ones. I definitely think it's looking a bit better now. Nice new paint job. Definitely shows off all those nice details on it. You can let me know what you think in the comments down below. Did you used to have one of these as a kid, or the pony trailer? What did you used to pull your pony trailer around with? Most of the old Matchbox cars seem to have tow bars on them, but not a lot of the new ones do. You're pretty lucky even to find a tow bar on the 4x4s. And here is our beat up looking old horse trailer or pony trailer. Looking a right mess there with its heavily chipped paint job. It's missing its tailgate. It's been on a right adventure to make it here over the last 50 years. Let's see if we can do it a bit of justice with a nice new makeover. And here it is, our Matchbox pony trailer. It's restored and customized with a nice new blue and white paint job. It's had the missing tailgate replaced with a nice new detailed custom one. It's got nice new hubcaps on the wheels, which have had a bit of a clean up. And after who knows how long, it's got a couple of horses back in it. And they're not just white ones either, they're nice colourful ones. Yeah, let me know what you think in the comments down below. If you think you'd like to have some horses and tow them around in that Mercedes with this nice horse trailer. Before I go, I'll say a big thanks to everyone for the great comments and likes on my videos. As always, a massive thanks to my awesome Patreon supporters. If you'd like to join them, helping to support the channel, you can check out my Patreon page. There's a link in the description down below. Everything goes towards the videos and it all definitely does help out. There's also a link where you can get 10% off Starbond, Superglue and accelerants, etc. It's really good stuff. I use them in most of my builds. That helps out the channel as well. So if you're after some good glue, go and check that out. Thanks heaps for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did and you'd like to see more like it, remember to subscribe and click the bell. Give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends.